Today we're working on how to create a frequency table and histogram, and we've already talked through our rules for frequency tables and histograms. We've decided that our frequency tables, we have to create equal intervals, and then we've got some rules for histograms. So I'm going to open up and start with the frequency table first. The example on our foldable says the number of children who visited the zoo was recorded for 2 weeks. The amount of children are recorded in the list below. So the first day, 96 children were there. The second day, 110 children were there. The third day, 132 children were there. And they recorded that over the course of 2 weeks. And so in order to create our frequency table, this is what our frequency table is going to look like right here. We've got intervals and frequencies. And the most important rule to remember here is that we have to create equal intervals on our frequency table. And so in order to create equal intervals, I actually am first going to find the range of my data set. So this is where we use, when we talked about mean, median, mode, and range, this is where we use range to kind of help us create some equal intervals. My smallest number of children that were at the zoo is 94, and my biggest number recorded is 140. So there were anywhere from 94 to 140 students or children at the zoo each day. To find the actual range, we have to do the biggest, 140, minus the smallest, 94, to get our range. Oop, not 96, 94. So my range is 46. And if I'm going to, again, make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 intervals, that's what's shown in my table here. If I'm going to do 5 intervals, 46 divided by 5 is about, I would say that it's about 9. To make this a little easier on myself, a close number to 9 is 10, so I'm actually going to do 5 intervals that are 10 units, just because 10 is a little bit more round number. So I'm going to start 94 is my lowest number. I'm just going to pick the 10 that's closest to 94. I'm going to do 91 through 100, and some of you might be saying, well, I think that's only 9. Actually, if you count it out, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, it's actually 10 values. And so I have 10 values, an interval, one interval here that's 10 values. After 91 to 100, then I've got 101 through 110. My next interval after 110 is 111. That goes through 120. Then after 120 is 121 through 130, and 131 through 140. This way, all my numbers will fit into an interval. 94 will fit into this first one, 140 would fit into this last one. So I know that all the numbers in between are going to fit into an interval. And so now I have to tally where each of these numbers go. So 96 falls between 91 and 100. So I'm going to put a little tally marker here to show 96 falls there. 110 falls between 101 and 110. So I'm going to put a tally and cross it off to show that I've recorded it. 132 falls between 130 and 140. So I'm going to tally it here and cross it off my list. 128 falls between 121 and 130. I'm going to tally it here, cross it off. 105 falls between 101 and 110, so there's my second tally for that interval, and cross it off my list. 94 falls between 91 and 100, so there's my second tally for that interval, and I'm going to cross it off my list. 123 falls between 121 and 130, so I put a tally, cross it off. 116 falls between 111 and 120. I'll put a tally and cross it off. 95 falls between 91 and 100. Tally, cross it off. 126 falls between 121 and 130. So I'm going to put a tally in that category and then cross it off. 114 falls between 111 and 120. So I'm going to put a tally here and cross it off. 121 falls between 121 and 130. So I'm going to put a tally and cross it off. 136 falls between 131 and 140. So I'm going to put a tally here and cross it off. And then my last one, 140, falls between 131 and 140. I put a tally and cross it off, and I've used all my numbers at this point in time. So now I'm going to total my tallies in my frequency table. From 91 to 100, there were 3 days that there were 91 to 100 children there. There were 2 days where there were 101 to 110 children at the zoo, so I'm going to put a 2 here next to those 2 tallies. 2 tallies here means that there were 2 days where there were 111 to 120 children at the zoo. 1, 2, 3, 4 tallies here tells me that there were 4 days where there were 121 to 130 children there. And then 1, 2, 3 tallies here, I'm going to put my 3. That represents that there were 3 days where there were 131 through 140 children at the zoo. Just something that is good for us to remember is that when we're tallying, remember that we tally 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our 5th one comes across. So had we had a frequency where maybe there was another one between 120 and 130, remember that 5th tally always comes across. This is how your tally marks should look in your frequency tables. So it's really important that we use the range to help us come up with intervals, and that we make intervals wide enough and big enough that all of our numbers will fit into one. So once we make equal intervals, we tally our frequencies, and then we total them with a number out here to the side. And so this is what we call a frequency table.